everybody. Thank you for coming, and welcome to Real Horror. This is a show where we discuss the horror movie of the week, and this week we're discussing American Psycho. This was Vinny Art's pick, and this is going to be an interesting stream because I got some theories, and he's got some insider knowledge that he's going to share with us. So this should be a cool stream. I want to thank people in the chat for coming, Mr. Palp Noir and Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective. He can't be with us tonight, but hopefully we'll see him again very shortly.
Yep.
So thank you guys for being here. And Vinny, thank you for being here as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And as always, this is always a blast. I mean, truly, I love this stuff. And getting into this one, when you asked me, like, do you have a favorite or something you want to do? I'm like, oh, absolutely. American Psycho was like one of my first picks. I know a lot of people, like, we hit a lot of the classic horror stuff, but this is slightly more modern, I'd say. I mean, right now it's only 23 years old, but the book is a little bit older than that. And I loved this when it came out, and watched it a number of times. I watched it again last night to refresh. And I'm sorry, Bale should have gotten an Oscar for this performance. I'm just gonna say that right now. He was so fantastic in this thing.
I agree. Awesome performance.
Absolutely. However you want to start this, we can definitely break it down.
So I have like tons of notes on this movie. First, I want to just say hi to Adega. Thanks for stopping in.
What's up, Doc?
Hi, Stephen Ransom. Thank you for stopping in as well. So I took tons of notes. I've got this movie broken down by scene. Because like the first watch through, I was like, I am not sure about this movie. And then I kind of like just sat with it for a little while.
Okay.
And then I always watch these movies that we're going to review quite a bit, quite a few times. So the second time I was like, okay, I'm getting into this, and I'm starting to see some like odd things, and like I'm starting to form some theories about what might really be going on and stuff. So I took a ton of notes. So wherever you want to start, we can. I guess
I have a question. So is this the first time you've seen it? Was just because we were going to review it, or have you seen it before?
Yep, this was the first time.
Okay.
I never, when it first came out, I didn't really feel like it was something that interested me. So I just, I just didn't bother. So I'm glad you picked us because I wouldn't have watched it otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because all right. So for me, I love it because it is a breakdown. It shows the psychological aspects of humanity. Because the way that we're approaching this, we're seeing this is through the serial killer's eyes, and how it starts off. It is just like pure narcissism. The amount of stuff that's going on in the 80s at that time too, and it is kind of a view into corporate greed and kind of what goes along with all of that, and to have these type of people in that world. I mean, there's so many layers that they put in this. Again, this was a book first, and from what I understand, the book is even more graphic. There were some things kind of moved around in the main story, but the director, she did it on purpose because she wanted to kind of have people see there's an eeriness, there's something off from the kind of get-go. So I love these kind of things where we dive into the psychological aspects of this type of stuff, and alleged serial killers and whatnot.
I gotta put this. Yes, Tommy, the first time was very difficult, but it got easier each subsequent time.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Hey, Soul Assassin, thanks for stopping in.
What's up, man?
And he says, 80s yuppie killer loses it over his friend's pure white business cards. Yeah.
Well, see, and that's part of that narcissism, right? It's the competing over the material possessions and superficial things that don't mean anything. Uh,
Yeah.
the character, he is basically it's like a dummy job. He doesn't have to work. His father is like this multi-millionaire, billionaire guy, whatever, and it's like he's so bored with life. But see, this is what happens too with a lot of those people. They don't value anything if they're given everything, and his whole life was like that. So what's the one thing that he's obsessed over? It's his own image. That's why he works out like a fiend. It's all about the rich clothes. It's all about this certain lifestyle, this persona, and like that kind of historical speech that he gives when he's getting ready doing his morning routine. And it comes on to that moment where he's like, that it's there's nothing there. There's nothing behind his eyes as he's peeling off his face mask, and you can see how dead and empty he is in his eyes. That nothing is there. Like I thought it was really smart how they did this from the book and to the actual film itself, and yeah, kind of how they break it all down. It's great.
Yeah. So as far as his father being wealthy, that's not conveyed in the movie, so we don't know that
Hmm.
as movie watchers.
Well, yeah, the his fiance says that. She goes,
Oh,
she goes, Patrick, what do you? I don't understand why you're still working here. Your father, he set you up there. She says it in a passing remark in the film that like he doesn't have to be doing what he's doing. They're already loaded. He's you know so.
see
Mhm.
that, like, that's what I was saying. No matter how many times you watch something, you can always miss something. And yeah, I missed
Yep.
that line. So yeah, I just want to say hail to Angelus Draven. He's
What's up,
making it
Draven?
hail in here.
Awesome.
Um, oh, and he said, if you like horror movie inspired songs based on this movie and countless others, check out Hip to Be Squared by Ice Nine Kills.
That is
And he dropped it.
awesome.
Yeah.
I was literally just in the supermarket and they were playing that song. I was laughing on the way out. I'm like, well, tonight's gonna be a good stream.
Hey, Mike, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Uh,
yeah, so yeah, I love this movie because um I like how it's not it's not a straightforward movie. You
right.
have like this can be interpreted a few different ways,
Hmm.
and you can take it on face value that what you see is what it is, and or like my theory is a little bit different.
Hmm.
And how do you want to get into the theories? Do you want to break down the different scenes, or do you just want to get right into it?
Um. Well, for those who were kind of unaware, it's a little bit of what Soul Assassin said. It's basically it takes place in the '80s where we have this kind of yuppie guy who, well, which you think him and his friends that all work in the same agency. You don't even know what they do. It's just this firm that they work in. Um, you could assume that it's like stockbroker or whatever, but like it's about that lifestyle of eating at fancy restaurants, doing coke, going to these parties all the time, and just the narcissism of what it all is. And in the middle of all this, you find out that this guy, he is really, this guy he's a psychopath. He's a serial killer. That it was almost like out of necessity to feel something. So it's interesting how they went about it, but it's kind of like the gist and the breakdown of this movie for the
Mhm.
overall for people who weren't aware of it and haven't seen it. But yeah, we could go scene by scene if you'd like.
Okay. So, if okay, so basically, if any to anyone who hasn't watched the movie, this is obviously we're talking about American Psycho, and it stars Christian Bale as Patrick Bateman.
Hmm.
That's his name in the movie. Well,
Right.
it's one of his names. And he's a wealthy investment banker, and he spends most of his time with other, with basic colleagues that are at the same level as him.
Yeah.
And he drinking, dining, and
Hmm.
partying, doing coke and other stuff. And he doesn't like any of these people. He just
Hmm.
does it. It's just like keeping up appearances, and
Yeah.
basically like this is what you do. It's that culture.
Oh,
It's
this is ironically the role that got him Batman.
Oh wow, yeah, I could see that. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
It's about that mask that he put out in public, but like, and it's amazing too, because like there's that moment too that just sidetrack in the Dark Knight movie, when he's sitting at the restaurant with Two Face or Harvey Dent at the time, and like and they have like a moment that feels like it's out of this movie, which is great. I don't remember word for word, but it's been a minute since I've seen that one. But yeah, no, I love it. But yeah, we'll jump back into this.
Yeah, that's yeah. So okay, so the first thing we see is like you already mentioned. It's we see how obsessed with appearance he is, and it's all surface because
Hmm.
he even later admits that he feels nothing
Yep.
other than like greed and like anger. He's empty. He's
Yep.
very empty,
Hmm.
and so everything that he does is all about his external, like what he surrounds himself with in his apartment, how he dresses, the way he takes care of his skin, his hair, how he dresses, all of that. It's all outer appearances because that's all he is.
Yeah.
And so that's basically how the movie opens up. Is you see that this is a very surface level person, is very kind of narcissistic.
Very narcissistic.
Yeah.
It's all
um
about that superficial lifestyle. But real quick though, too, Stephen Ransom, this movie isn't celebrating it. It's not celebrating mental illness, not on any level. And it's funny too because Christian Bale says he hates this character. He really did despise it. But and we'll
yeah,
talk about that later. Some of the things he did to make you laugh at the character.
yeah, I would say, yeah, I agree with Vinny. I did This movie definitely does not glorify or celebrate mental illness. It
No.
does show the mental illness of a character, but I think it's not done in a way that makes fun of him or
Hmm.
like mocks people with mental illness, um or like celebrates it. It's more of just kind of, it just shows you what is going on.
Yep.
And then Mike from Mrs. This Is My Design says his character reminds me a lot of Dexter, the TV series. Yes, I
Hmm.
absolutely agree with that. And it's funny that you say that because I'm currently rewatching Dexter and I got the same vibes. I wonder if
Yeah.
there was inspiration there.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know when Jeff Lindsay wrote his first books on Dexter. I have one of them. I was gonna get more of them, but I haven't had time to read all that stuff. But I was a massive fan of the Dexter TV series up
Hmm.
until we're talking the original run, not what they just released last year, whatever it was. But that original run, I loved everything up until the last episode. The last episode they could have done something different, but they shit the bed on it, and then
Yeah,
whatever they did last year was just that's not Dexter. It's not. It was
yeah,
out of character on every level.
I agree. Maybe we
Mhm.
should go over that series sometime because
Oh, I will.
that's horror.
Yes,
And
yes,
Stephen Ransom adds that he says, yes, that was his initial reaction to the poster, but after he watched it, he changed his mind. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yes,
That
we
makes
agree,
sense too.
Draven.
Hmm.
But yeah. So yeah, that was the first scene, and that really sets the stage of who uh Patrick Bateman, I guess,
Hmm.
if that is his real name, is as a person, really is not much of a person at all, just kind of a shell.
Yeah.
But and then the first time you see him like being someone is he's at a dinner party with his fiance Evelyn, and
Hmm.
then um and then Timothy Bryce, who I have some theories about, and like I mentioned, Evelyn is there,
Hmm.
and he mentions he's having an affair with uh, what was her name? Courtney, right?
I think
He's
that's what her name
having,
was. Yeah. What? Yeah. The guy with the red hair. His with his fiance, because
yeah,
yeah, Patrick's fiance is having an affair with the other guy, and it's like it kind of shows you how they're all kind of passing each other around, not even they're not supposed to realize it's supposed to be a secret, but they all kind of know. It's just show just how scummy those type of people are.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a weird dinner scene too because
Mhm.
um when we get into theories I'll get into this more, but yeah, he talking about how he's engaged to this person but he's having an affair with this person,
Mhm.
and the person he's having an affair with is like perfect looking, but she's getting married to like this dork looking guy, and it just really doesn't make a lot of sense at all.
Mhm.
um and
Yeah, it's
yes,
everyone's putting up a persona. Everyone's fake.
yes, yes, everyone's fake. And then yeah, it's funny because he talks about how they start talking about social issues, and he's like, well, we have to end apartheid, we have to do this and that and this and that, and you can tell that he's just saying it like it's almost like he's like, I'm supposed to care about this stuff,
Yeah,
so
I'm,
I'm going to say like this stuff is important. But
yeah, he's on autopilot.
yeah, yeah, that's exactly it.
Mhm.
um and then what happens
Well,
after
isn't it?
that?
Don't we have that scene where like you could see that was he walking across the street.
Yep.
They were waiting for the light to change, and you could kind of see him walking with this woman. And then the very next scene, he's in the dry cleaners, and he's arguing with the people there about getting these stains out of his sheets and flipping out.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. He's walking with that brunette across the street, and that's a very weird interaction. And then
Mhm.
you don't like see what happens, but the next morning he brings his bloody sheets to the cleaners, and like he can't understand them. He can't understand them because they're talking what, like Korean or Chinese or something.
Some Asian
It's
language, yeah.
yeah, it's some Asian language, and he's like, "I can't understand." And then his friend walks in. She's like, "What's going on?" And she sees the sheets, and she's like, "What is
Oh,
that?"
but before that, because he's arguing. He's like, I can't understand you. He's flipping out, and
Yeah,
then because she's annoying him so much, the wife, it's the husband and wife. He goes to the wife, and he leans in and goes, "You shut your mouth, or I will kill you right now." And like she went, oh, like she froze.
yes.
I won't
Oh
repeat
my
exactly what
god.
he said, but yeah,
Yeah, that was an awesome moment.
yeah.
Hey,
And then the
Frankie.
friend walks in. Hey, Frank.
Yeah,
Oh man.
Mr. Pulp Noir. Just an average day in New York City.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, that was wild. So I guess yeah, like yeah, I guess that was the first kill
Well, yeah, yeah,
that we.
technically, that we kind of we could assume definitely, but yeah, there's one that's the very first one we actually see on camera is a different one. But you
Mhm,
were saying that moment where someone he actually knew comes in as he's in the middle of he had just flipped out at her, and
mhm,
the woman just walks in and is like, "Oh, Patrick," and then,
mhm.
he stopped. And you see that he puts on this kind of persona again, like he goes back to his regular mask, and she's trying to be, oh my God, we haven't seen each other forever. We need to, and he just like he was still so infuriated and the narcissism that they can't clean his sheets, so he grabs it out of their hands and he faces her and goes, could you tell them, because this is insane. She's like, what kind of stains are those? And then he's wrapping it up, crayon apple, uh
Yeah.
and he goes, I'm late, could you sort this out for me? Like, none of it means anything. His sheets are more important than anything else right now. He doesn't care about this woman who just came in, but he's trying to BS her as he's running out the door. I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. But in that moment, if you go back and watch it, he has that fake that's like, he's kind of smiling. And in an instant before he turns and leaves completely, you could see how his face drops just to this stone cold, glaring, looking through her evil look on his face. It is like
Mhm.
it's like 2 seconds, but it was like genius. That moment was like, holy crap! Like he's not there. He is. This is all a mask. There's
Yeah.
it's excellent how they did that.
Yeah, his acting in this movie is so convincing. It
Hmm.
is really well done. very underrated in my opinion.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was such the good scene
Yeah.
right there.
Well, what brought I know what brought Bale to the role. He said he likes to to choose these kind of crazy roles because he likes exploring the different sides of humanity. You know, just the human nature, not humanity, but human nature as a whole, of good, evil, all that stuff. And it was just so well written. I mean, this movie was going around for the script was going on for a minute. It was supposed to be Oliver Stone, and the lead was going to be Leonardo DiCaprio, and that's what the
Hmm.
studios wanted, and they were kind of fighting for it. And I know the female director, or Marion something, and him, like, they were still going gun ho. He was working out like a fiend. He knew what he had to do to make sure that narcissism would be there. And yeah, they started like shooting some test moments and scenes, and then the studios were like, oh, this is looking good. Like, they didn't even have an official green light until they were like halfway done with the movie,
Wow.
which is, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Draven says the sequel to this is bad.
I never saw it. I had
Yeah,
no desire to.
this is the first time seeing this one, so yeah, I didn't even think about seeing the sequel, but now that you say it's bad, and Draven has a high tolerance for stuff, even higher than mine.
Yeah,
And so if he's saying it's bad, I believe him.
yeah, I believe him too. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Oh, Frankie is saying Leo passed on this role and they
Mhm.
told Bale it'll end his career doing this film.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
he got it from multiple people, not just the studios, but some of his friends and stuff too. He's like, I don't see what you're talking about. Because I'm going for it because this is really interesting. This story is it says a lot, and that's why he didn't want to let it go. Leo passed on it because Leo's lazy on top of it, but I'm happy he passed on it because I don't think he could have done this. I don't think it would have been the same movie. He wouldn't have worked out like that. He couldn't have done the performance that Bale did.
Yeah, it's when there's an actor that has already done a role, I can't picture anybody else doing it.
Yep. Yeah, he owned this.
Um, so yeah, let's see. Shatner and Mila Kunis are in the sequel. Okay.
Oh, Mila Kunis. Yeah, the one from the '70s show.
Playing Norman Bates ended that boy's career, and Hugo Weaving hated Red Skull.
Yeah, yeah, Hugo. He didn't come back to Red Skull. When you see him in the other movie, it's what's his name? The guy from Walking Dead, the guy with the curly hair. Um, he was a gay guy who eventually got his hand chopped off or something in the series.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember names.
Yeah, something Marquand, or I don't. He's a great voice
Yeah.
impressionist, and he did a fantastic job with that. But yeah, Hugo didn't want to do the makeup and all that crap again. He didn't want to play Yahtzee. Yeah, and what's his face? The one who played Norman Bates. Yeah, I know he was typecast for a long time. He couldn't really get much work. Everyone just saw him in that role, which kind of sucks. But this thing put Bale on the map, and then it became a cult hit after the fact. Like, everyone went back and just they were watching it, or they bought it on DVD and Blu-ray.
I wish I had seen it back then, because seeing it now, I really like it. So yeah, I just when it came out, I just was like, not really looking like something I'm interested in.
Yeah, some things you definitely have to be in the mood for.
Oh,
Around that
Mike's
time.
got it. The kid's name was Aaron.
Okay, all right. But yeah, it's crazy. Some of these things, like, yeah, you do have to be in the mood for it. I'm like that with a couple of things, but this thing, like, I always kind of like the psychology behind certain things. Like, even when I was in high school, like, I passed some kind of test or something for a 3-letter agency, and the guy who was there wanted to recruit me, and I'm like, I had no interest. I don't want to see things about some of the crap that they were dealing with, dead bodies and all this other shit. Like, I had no interest in that. but I did like the psychological aspect of certain things. So like
Yeah.
my mind was always kind of in that area, I guess. That's why I went to the creative field to begin with.
Soul Assassin, yeah. Vinny mentioned that this is the role that got him the Batman role.
Yep.
And Fedorable the Horrible says, I want the Patrick Bateman Batman who laughs.
Oh, that would be epic.
That's amazing.
I said that too from day one. I said he could have played either Batman or the Joker. And having that character being created, yeah, he would nail that.
That's true. That is true. Okay, we're getting off topic a little bit. So yeah, all right. So now this is the scene that I think it was now I can't remember who said it about the business cards. Was that Steven Ransom that said that?
Or Soul Assassin?
Or Soul Assassin. Yeah, I can't remember which one of you guys said it, but yeah. So now we're on to the next scene, and that's where this happens. So he is in a conference with his colleagues, and they're comparing how nice their business cards are. And you know, Patrick Bateman is like, ooh, and all this stuff. And then you know, and this is the weird part, and this is what made me look at the movie differently and make me watch it like a bunch more times. Is when that the guy comes in, I think Paul Allen comes in, and and he goes and he calls Patrick Bateman Marcus Alberstrand. And he's like, hey, Alberstrand, and how's that account coming along and stuff like that. And then we hear his inner monologue, and he's like, he has just mistaken me for this guy who's a dork and stuff like this.
Yeah. And that guy walks into the room, the one he mistakes him for.
Yeah.
And he goes, we have the same jawline. He goes, I can understand how he could mistaken us. He goes, but I have a much better haircut. Like he said something along those lines. Yeah.
And the similarities between Bateman and Alberstrand are like, there's barely any daylight between them. They both work at Pearson Pierce. They go to the same barber.
Same job.
Yep, the same exact job at the same company. So they're both in mergers and acquisitions, and they're both the vice president of that position, which is also a red flag to me. Same brand of eyeglasses, same taste in suits. Like they are the same person, and then when you see them, they look very similar.
Yeah. See, that's kind of the giveaway of this. It's all supposed to be like that because they're just like carbon copies of one another. Like in that whole lifestyle, that's what it is. That corporate greed. It's all like, you know, interchangeable robots.
Yep, that's true. And that's like, I was saying that there are like 2 or 3 interpretations you can come up with for this movie. And, yeah, one of them is at face value, you know, of course they're all going to look the same, go to the same barber, buy all the same stuff because it's all about being the same, basically. They all want to like, oh, of course I got my watch here and yeah, I get my shoes there and stuff like that. And then on the other hand, if you're thinking like, why did he get mistaken for this guy? Could it be because he is that person and all these people are only existing in his head? Like that's
are you doing theories now or later?
Well, I know I'm trying to wait, but it's so hard.
I know. It's just because there's so many good moments anyway.
There is. So
well, that scene, that business card scene's great. That whole dick measuring contest is basically what it is.
That's exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and just the mental breaks that this guy has.
It's so fantastic the way it's filmed too. I got to give props to the director because
she killed it.
Oh yeah, each time someone pulled out a card, there was like this kind of supernatural sound, and like it was really like it made you feel like the it was like a really heavy moment for Patrick Bateman,
Hmm.
and like this was a really important thing. Like, wow, they're comparing business cards. Like, this is big.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like that's it. That is like that's the biggest thing for him in that day, in that moment. Is
Yep.
that it's the business card? It's like of all things, like anyone else would be like, What? It's just a business card. Who cares?" And like just the narcissism of these guys.
Yes.
It's kind of priceless. But his
Yep.
reaction though, too, like he can't even speak at that moment. It's like very impressive, and let's see Paul Allen's card.
Yeah. It, and then they're all like doing it with trepidation. They're like, okay, I guess we'll
Yeah.
show them. It's like they don't really want to, but okay,
Mhm.
we'll show them.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh my God, this movie is so well acted. Like, I really can't believe it. And and
Oh, the director called him like the Terminator of acting or something. She goes like anything that she asked him to do, he would do it on cue, including when he was perspiring, when he was sweating like that.
I
That
was
wasn't that wasn't a spray bottle. That wasn't a gimmick or anything. She goes, I don't know how he could do that with his body. He was able to just sweat on command with every take.
wow. Yeah, because oh man, I was actually going to mention that. He even starts sweating when he starts um like seeing Paul Paul Allen's card. He's like he
Yeah.
starts to really get uncomfortable and he starts to sweat and you can see like the anxiety building up inside him.
Yeah.
Oh
Even the
man.
one guy, you're looking all clammy. Is something wrong?
Yeah, like what's the matter? What's wrong with you? Like, are you okay?
Hmm. I like what
It
Frankie
was
said. Yeah, what Frankie said too with the color he picked is bone. Like,
oh yeah.
mhm.
Yes. That was
It's
good.
all those little details. But they said it's a pivotal scene in the book as well. Although they changed the location. I think that was in the restaurant, and this time they put it in the office.
I think it makes a lot more sense in the office.
Oh yeah, for sure. Although I don't know the full context of how it transpired in the book. I had never read it. I wanted to, but it's one of those things that always kind of slipped my mind, or I never got a chance to look up and get.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was a major scene. Oh, and also in that conference, I don't know if I mentioned it, but yeah, when he says that Paul Allen mistaked him for this Alberstrand guy,
Mhm.
um, he also mentions that no, he doesn't mention, but other people mention that Bateman is like a nerd or loser or something like that. It was derogatory.
Mhm.
And I just thought that that was such a weird thing that they
Yeah, it was.
said.
Yeah, it was Paul Allen who said it, but it wasn't like they weren't all chiming in on that. It was like literally just like earshot between them.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. When when Paul Allen was talking to the other guys at the front of the room.
Yep,
Yeah.
because his friends would have corrected him, or they would have said something. Because
Yeah, that's true.
later there's a party, like a Christmas party thing or something, and Paul Allen's there, and he calls him by the wrong name again, and he's there, and he never corrects him, and they're still having a conversation, and then the fiance comes up to him and goes, "Why did he call you by so and so's name or whatever?" And he just ignored her and goes, "Oh, mistletoe kiss," and just like to shut her up.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes, that's why I kept like thinking about like what else could be going on with this movie.
Hmm.
Um Yeah, because like the first watch through, I just took it at face value, like this is just weird and people are being weird and stuff like that. And then like how I mentioned, I watched these movies a few times to review them, and the second time I'm thinking about it much deeper, and I'm like,
Hmm.
no, I think there's more going on, and it was really there. Well, it did start when when they were out to dinner, like that couples dinner type thing.
Yeah.
It did start to like kind of make me question things, but at the conference when they were all in that conference room, the second time watching it, I really started to like pause scenes and then rewind it, and like I kept on going back and forth with it, and I'm like, yeah, this is deeper than just what we're seeing. Like there's something
Oh, for
underneath
sure.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just so well done.
It was. And like again, how she shot it like that, these eerie moments. There's a lot of like emptiness on the streets and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. There's things that kind of all played out in a very specific way. That's why I said she's a master of her craft. She did just a killer job on this thing. You know,
Yeah,
pun
I have
intended
to
or not.
agree. Yeah, definitely props to her because this very well done. Yeah, actors, director, everything so well done.
Yep.
Yeah, and then let's see. And then he takes Paul Allen. Oh yeah. This is where he takes Paul Allen out to that Texan grill.
Yeah, yeah.
That was so weird. Like, why did he take him to a dive like that?
All right. You didn't get that. He brought him there on purpose because he kept calling him the wrong name and because of what he was going to do. He was building himself up to do this.
Yeah.
Because we already know from that opening, well, not one of the beginning scenes where he was at the dry cleaner that he started doing this, that he'd already started killing people. The first scene we see though that he does actually murder somebody is the homeless guy on the street. It wasn't the Paul Allen situation yet. It was the homeless guy. And
Yes.
the guy was sitting against the wall like that, and he makes it look like he's gonna help him. And it's like, yeah, like he's having a conversation with them, and he's insulting him, and then it's like, yeah, but like he's leading him on a bit. Then he stands up, he looks around, he makes sure there's no one's coming. Then he opens up that briefcase, and then as soon as the guy touches him, then he goes off on him. He just takes out that knife and he just starts going to town on him. And he even gets the dog. It's like he showed you how kind of despicable he is, and like we should not be rooting for him on any level. Like for me, it's just like, yeah, it's a study in the psychoses of a serial killer, basically this deranged, empty narcissist.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like, and it like really meant nothing to him, and you could see it right there. So then, yeah, when he takes Paul Allen to that dive bar, it's because he wanted to take him someplace where no one's going to recognize either one of them. That was the purpose of that dinner there. So
okay.
he was getting him that drunk, so then he could, much like he did with the females, lure him into where he was well, which was his home, to do what he wanted to do.
I was wondering if it was also because he wanted to insult him.
I think it was a bit of that. I'd say, yeah, it's probably a bit of that as well, because that guy's like, oh yeah, I was just at Dorcia's, and the big famous place that you can't, which is a fictional place, but
right.
It's one of the most fancy restaurants or whatever, and no one could get reservations, and Paul Allen could, because he's so rich, and he just makes a phone call and he's there. And that's why he says it when they're there too, because we could have went to Dorcia's, like, but he's already getting shit faced. He's getting hammered. So
yeah.
he doesn't even know what's going on. So by the time he takes him back to his place, he's still calling him by the wrong name. And that's what I love the whole thing with the music, how he's so superficial at everything, but the thing that he actually has a connection with is music, and how deep it is, how the writers and the artists, how they came up with their songs, and he's giving you like this, this important information about the albums and stuff.
I know.
Like, to me, that was excellent.
I want to say, hey, Tony, thanks for stopping by.
Hey, Tony.
And yeah, the music, I am so glad that they went with like just regular pop music of the day for him, instead of the like what I expected was that he'd be a classical music fan, because it seems like all serial killers love classical music. And so I was glad that
metal.
No, not metal. Don't say that. But yeah, it was funny how
Yeah,
he's talking about Huey Lewis in the news and stuff,
that
and
was
it's
so
like,
good.
yeah, it's just kind of like just kind of being a nerd over music, and that was cool. That was like the most human thing about him, I think.
Yeah, but that whole scene was excellent too because it's like
Yeah.
as Paul's kind of like he's all over the place. He's like he's noticing what's going on, but he's still not putting it together. He's why do you have the lifestyle section all over your floor? Then it's like, is that a raincoat? Well, yes, it is.
I
You know,
know.
all these little moments, and then like, all right, so there's when he does his little dance, he does that little shimmy. That's something
Yeah.
that he added because he goes, this is so dark. He wants people to be able to laugh at this guy. That's why he did like the little dance when he goes and grabs the axe to
Mhm.
hide it so that Paul can't see it coming at first. He does that moonwalk and he has it down by his leg, like
Yeah.
like all the kind of the build up to it, and then it's just like, hey Paul, to get his attention, and then right in there. And as he's chopping him up, he's just like going off about his insecurities, his jealousy that he had towards him,
Yep.
over nothing, over again superficial stuff. Like that was incredible. And
Yeah.
Batman killed the Joker.
That's right. Yeah,
Good for
that was such
you.
that scene was amazing how he goes from like kind of yeah, he goes from like a joking weird like just it's just so strange to see him like and, and he's like, "Yes, it is." Like when he goes, "Is that a raincoat?" He's like, "Yes, it is." And the way he's talking, it's like so over the top, it weird.
Yeah.
And then he picks up the axe and then he's just like a
Mhm.
totally different, like just
Yeah.
complete killer.
Well, it was at the over the top reactions. And a matter of fact, yes. Like you
Yeah.
have no idea what's like. He has that giddiness, that glee that he's about to just drop this axe in between his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so dark. I mean, yeah, no, he did an excellent job. But Frankie made a good point as well about the intellectual psychos. Uh,
Oh
that
yeah.
they like classical music. Um, yeah, you have your Hannibal Lecters. You have those types that are like so extra classy and refined. Um, but
Yep.
what they do is just as it's twisted. Did you ever see the Hannibal series that was on television with
Yes,
Mads
very
Mikkelsen?
good.
That was
Yep.
so glorious. Someone said that Netflix might be picking it up. I heard one of these things might be picking it up. I don't know if it's factual, but like that type of stuff is great because it's more of this psychology and getting into the mind of these type of characters to see what makes them tick or why they do what they do. So
Yeah,
good.
that's a excellent series. I love that.
Oh yeah. And yeah, I don't have any raincoats, so it's sad too. I have none. I don't know what you're talking about. He asked me how many see-through raincoats I own.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
But yeah. Oh, and then when he disposed, well, all right. After he starts chopping them like that, and then like the music's still playing, and he sits back on his sofa and he just like he's smoking his cigar, like whatever joy just left, whatever that moment was completely
Yeah.
gone as well. And it's
Yeah.
just like all right, now he's just it's not even so much content. It's just like I did it there.
Yeah, it was like, okay, back to normal now.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so awesome. This oh man, the acting is just so good in this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then even too, like as he goes to the like, he's got the body in the duffel bag there, and you, the way he's pulling it, and the way the guard is like looking at him, the hotel guard or whatever, the guy from the building, he's like he doesn't really see. He just sees part of his back, and he shrugs his shoulders. But then you pan down in the camera, and you see a trail of blood
Yes.
all
Uh,
all over the lobby floor.
yes, I was going to actually get into that. That was actually my next note. But I want to say hello Tree Rock Creations. Thanks for being here.
Hello.
And I think a lot of people would probably say that they work with some American Psychos.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a wild scene when he packed up Alan and he's dragging him through, the whole, he has to be dragging him through the whole building, like the elevator and then down and then and he must be leaving a trail of blood, and yet nobody notices. That was also, that was also like, and then like how you mentioned, the security guard looks up and just looks back down like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Which
And then
I'll say one thing though too. I don't think he's leaving a trail of blood everywhere, because when you see that moment, it's kind of at a certain point. I think like it started bleeding when he was in the lobby, like it was starting to come out from there. Because if you see like the trail, it starts kind of thin, and then as he's where it is where I guess his head, I'm assuming where his head or where his torso would be there. That's like you could start to see that it's starting to run. So I think it was just the lobby. I don't think it was full on from elevator and all that crap.
yeah,
Again, in the middle of the night he's doing this, and that's why, like, the cab came and he's throwing the body in there when that one guy with the red hair pops up. And again, the narcissism, like, oh my God, Patrick, where did you get that sleeping bag? But he's just so disgusted by this guy, and that's the one where he's banging his girlfriend or his fiance, and he's like, he means nothing to him. So he's just kind of dismissive, and he's like, he says, a Pulte, it's the brand name, Jean,
Jean Paul Gaultier.
yeah. He just says it kind of in passing. He's like fuck off. Like I need to
Yeah.
I need to get out of here.
Yep. And yeah, so I was just gonna get into a theory, but I'm not. I'm gonna save it.
Okay.
And then yeah, so then we have that scene, and then and then he goes to Paul's house and packs some things up in a suitcase and leaves a message on Paul Allen's answering machine.
Yeah.
Changes the message. Like, that was weird too.
That's the first, when I saw it in theater the first time, I went, oh, that's what's gonna get him caught. Like I thought that, but it's kind of like, he did like that fake kind of, that yuppie shit where, looking back, it's like, oh yeah. I mean, he kind of could have said something that dumb, because like, these guys are all the same. So I think that was part of it too. Because later when we get into the theories and then what they're actually saying. But yeah, we'll get into that later.
Yeah. And then the next day, the detective who was in Spider-Man, he was
Dafoe, yeah.
Willem Dafoe, yeah.
Such a good actor.
Yeah, he took it, and this is funny. This was, well, not funny, but this was interesting in the movie how he is asking Patrick about Paul, because somehow, even though it's the next day, or I guess it's not.
There's a bit of a time jump, because they said that Paul's been now he's missing for, I think, a couple of weeks, they said, or something. Or last time they saw him was around Christmas time. Is with the I think this is fiance said, or one of them.
Okay. All right. See, that's something I missed as well. Okay.
Yeah,
so
because there is a bit of a time jump, because he starts to he's using Paul's place as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I was like, I couldn't figure it out. Like, how did because when I had watched it, I was like, okay, this is the next day. How do they already know he's missing and stuff like this? Like this is a weird timeline. But now that you clarify that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, Tree Rock. See, Tree Rock. You brought that up. I was going to bring that up a little bit later. He did. He based his portrayal on Tom Cruise, because he saw him in interviews when he puts on that huge smile and that weird laugh he does. He goes, his eyes are soulless. You could see that it's an act. That's the one thing that he was saying about that. And in the book, his character, Patrick Bateman, is actually living in the same building with Tom Cruise, and they run into one another in the book.
Oh my God.
Yeah. which is
Wow.
some extra info for you on that.
Oh wow. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah.
See, this is stuff you don't get when you just watch the movie and not read the book.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, and so the interesting thing about when he's being interviewed about like where's Paul and all that stuff is he knows everything about Paul, where he went to school, where he hung out, everything. He knows
Mhm.
a little too much about him. Sort of like it's an obsession.
Yeah, there's a bit of that because some of the stuff that he brings up, it's like okay, like all the guys in the office, that's common knowledge. But then he asks him like, "Where do you go to school again?"
Yeah.
And then he's like, "You know this, like it's." But if I remember correctly, and then like he names like the previous school he went to, not just the college.
Yeah. Like he knew awful lot about Paul, and I think that the detective was picking up on that because he kept asking him more questions about Paul's life, and like he had an answer for
Hmm.
everything.
Yeah,
Patrick had like he knew all about Paul's life.
and
Like
that's why he was trying to be dismissive too. When it's like, yeah, like I gotta get going anyway. And, oh
yeah.
yeah, I know you guys. You're very busy in these buildings, and like he was still trying to be extra polite as well,
Mhm.
um, which is good because that's what I like about Defoe because he can come off as a character where he does know everything that's kind of going on and he's kind of playing the guy, or he could come off as a kind of like an idiot cop. Like it's kind of like two approaches, but you don't know which he's doing and what direction they could go in at any given time.
Yep.
That's what I like what they did because there were um three scripts from the very first script. They said that Willem's character knew exactly that he was the serial killer. The second version of the script, they said he thought that it was and just couldn't piece it together. And the third one was that he was clueless, like he didn't know who what happened to Paul or who took him out or whatever. So and it
Mm.
looks like they were leaning more towards the last one. So
Okay, that's interesting.
yeah, because like those
Yeah,
scenes
tree.
that you see with them, you could see that they could go in either direction.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tree Rock Creations, yeah, that scene is just it's iconic for the movie, really. And yeah,
Yeah.
we went over that. Yeah, such a good scene.
It really is. And yeah, well, I think it was it around that scene where he says that he feels that his sanity is he's slipping, he's losing it. He does say it I think twice in the movie that he's starting to break.
Yeah. And I know that there's one part, but I can't remember exactly where it is, where
Mhm.
he goes to the spa, he's getting a manicure and he's going for his tan, and he's
Mhm.
saying, and he's telling us he only feels like a shell of a human. He doesn't have any emotions.
Mhm.
He only has like greed and anger or something like that.
Mhm.
Um and yeah, but I can't remember where exactly that part is,
Yeah,
but
that moment was yeah because he's already
yeah.
done a couple of kills already at that point that we
Yeah.
know of.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was definitely after Paul, but
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was if it was before the hookers or
Well, no, well, I'm thinking. I think maybe it was this. It was the second time with the business card because he's sitting with the other guys, and the redheaded guy goes, "Hey, you know what? I upgraded my card as well." And
yeah.
he goes to show him, and the guy goes to go take a piss, and he's just so infuriated at that point. It was to me that was one of the best moments too. He puts on his gloves and like he's ready to kill this guy in a public place. He's got his hands around his neck, and the guy turns around, and it's like you could see why he hated what was wrong with him. If the guy was actually a fruitcake. And
Yes.
when he goes to kiss his hands, like he was so disgusted, but in shock, he goes to the sink and he starts to wash the gloves, his hands with the gloves on.
I know that was so hilarious.
That was the best. And he's like, "Where are you going, Patrick?" He's like, "I need to return some tapes." And like, and he darts out of there.
Yes. Need to return some videos. Oh my god, that's great.
Yeah. Oh my god. that was excellent.
Yeah, the oh man, the hookers, that is something else, man. He he picks up the hooker and then he
Hmm.
calls for
An
an escort
escort.
service for a
Yeah.
second one.
Hmm.
And he films the three of them and then he tells them to call him Paul Allen.
Yep.
And then at the end, he beats them.
Hmm.
That is so bizarre.
Yeah. That's the thing with that whole moment. Like, so he got the hooker off the street, and he got the escort. He wanted them both, and he kept saying all night, "Just keep calling me Paul Allen, whatever,"
Yeah.
because he wanted them to talk about him. Because he was the thing that the first time I watched it, I didn't fully grasp every bit what he was doing. It was on the second replay. I'm like, oh, that's what he did. So he got them there, and to have a memorable impact, since he couldn't kill them because he wants them to say that if police come around or whatever, that Paul Allen is, that he's around. He's the guy who did this to these girls.
Yep.
So the streetwalker, she would tell her other friends, "Oh yeah, stay away from this rich guy, Paul Allen. He's a good-looking guy with, kind of longish hair, nice business suit, blah blah blah." He wanted word of mouth getting around for both sides, so the high-end hookers and the streetwalkers, so that more people would be aware in case police were asking, "Oh yeah, Paul Allen, yeah, oh yeah, people have seen Paul Allen, yeah, he's been around." But like on top of it, it's because he couldn't kill them. He wanted to that first time around, and he couldn't because he needed them to repeat that Paul is like. I liked how they did it because they didn't hand feed the audience completely. And it is something that you have to keep rewatching, and you'll see more. You'll learn more about the character and why he's making the choices that he's making, and it's interesting. And then for when he actually has his full break, but yeah, that's why the more you see and the more you understand the character, the more you could see what was actually what's real, what actually happened. So like this, because I know a lot of fan theories were completely wrong. They're still interesting to hear, and it is interesting to see people's views and different takes on it. But there is a specific narrative. So I'll say that much before we actually say it.
Tommy says, "You want to talk about horror? How about not being able to walk and listening to a whole room of guinea pigs yelling at you?"
Uh-oh. They want their food. Watch those toes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that makes sense. I was thinking that he had them call him Paul Allen so that they would like say, like they were with this guy and this guy beat him up, or go to the cops and say, "This guy Paul Allen beat us up."
Yep.
That's what I was thinking. So yeah, so there was that, and okay, and then the next scene, him and his friends are drinking, and that's where Lewis shows, "Hey, I got a new card too." And it's really nice. It has gold lettering and everything, and Patrick is like, "I can't even with this." And so he goes to Lewis goes to the bathroom and Patrick follows him in, and yeah, that's what you were talking about. That's when he like goes to strangle him, but Lewis confesses to having romantic feelings for him, and Patrick's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go return some tapes now."
Yeah, this got a lot darker than he expected.
Yeah. It was like he couldn't, like, what do I do with this information? Like, I don't even know right now.
Yeah.
That
just like scared him off. It was so funny.
Yeah, it was funny. It was awesome. That was a good. That was good. And let's see. And then
Wasn't it that scene after? Was it? I think it was after you see Patrick with Lewis's fiance.
yeah, that's right. He's with Courtney, and she is like who he says is always medicated, and
Yep.
she is. It's you can tell she is, and she's lamenting that she's marrying Lewis, and it, yeah, and
Just how
so
broken all of them are. It's not just
yeah,
him; it's everyone in their circle.
yeah,
And you could see she actually does have feelings for him, but even drugged up, she could see that he's not there. She
yep,
kept calling his name and he's like, yeah, like what do you want? Like, mm-hmm. And she's
yeah,
like you can see she's kind of like gives up and she's like, yeah. Well, if I see you and like you can almost see too, like I thought she was gonna off herself to be honest.
mm-hmm,
Like after that scene. And I
yeah,
don't know in the book if she does or she doesn't. Like I said, I'd like to get my hands on it at some point and read that one. But
mm.
I am curious because they said they go into more detail with a lot of different things. And the kills, especially, they said are over the top graphic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah, because when you see his sketchbook there, it's all those things. It's stuff he actually does in the book. It's not just that it's his fantasies and everything. It's in the book they go more into all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
yeah, she toned down on it a lot, but there was still a lot of very disturbing graphic things, and it's kind of the reason why it didn't do bigger in the box office. Is one, he wasn't a big enough star at the time. Like this movie actually put him on the map, and then two, it's the material itself. People were afraid of it. They were very afraid of the material in here
Wow.
because
Hey, Lion
it's.
Ratton, thanks for stopping by.
Hey man, what's up? Yeah, because they break down the psychological aspect of all that stuff, and they
Mm-hmm.
show the narcissism and the greed of man and the destruction, and with those kind of those big agencies and stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of like how they're ruining everything. You basically you're corporate America. It's a whole take on corporate America and the destruction of what it's doing to the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was very interesting how she says, "If I don't see you on Easter, have a good one," and
Mhm.
that's gonna be. I'm gonna cover that more when we get into theories.
Okay.
Um, yeah. And then we see. Well, he kills a woman. He kills. He's at the ATM. Um, when does that happen? When he's at the ATM?
Uh,
Oh, okay, that's later. That happens after
yeah,
he's
yeah,
with Jean.
yeah. That's right. Yeah, his
Yeah,
secretary. Yeah, because
yeah,
he literally you see him at the club with his friend. They're doing the
yeah,
coke. They're kind of flipping out, and then he says what he's into.
hmm,
Murder and executions, and she
yeah,
kind of like mergers and acquisitions. Yeah, like you think I'm a dummy, but it's not all models are dummies. And like you could see how he's putting his charm on her as well. She's proving that she's not an idiot, but she can't see through his
yeah,
his BS. And as she says it, like, but there's something about you that's kind, and like you can see him when again put on that Tom Cruise fake smile, and the next scene it's him in his office with a lock of her hair.
yes. He's twirling it. Like we don't see any kill, but we see him twirling the hair.
Yeah, he was up late, and it was a bad
Yeah,
thing because he's got his sunglasses on, and he's kind of unresponsive too because Jean walks in and she's like, "So, you need help with the crossword or something?" And he's just filling it in himself, but not doing the crossword, just putting in all bed, bone, death, blood. His
yeah,
crossword puzzle is just loaded with just bad things. It's not. It's not. He's not doing the crossword puzzle. He's just again faking it.
yeah. You really see his mental decay going.
Yeah, and that's when he's like, "Oh, screw it," because he decides to ask Jean if she wants to go out somewhere.
Yep. Yep, that's where and he's like, pick somewhere nice, and then he pretends to get a reservation at
Dorcia's.
oh yes, that's it.
Because she
And
brings it up. Anywhere you want to go. Anywhere. How about
yep,
Dorcia?
yep,
And again,
and
it's just that fake, again, the Tom Cruise smile he puts on. I love the shot that she had too. That like it's like from behind his head where he's got the phone to his ear, but you can still see her clearly. You can see them both clearly. Like one would be blurred out, but they're not. Um,
mm-hmm.
and you could just it's almost like you could hear into his head on the other side of the phone, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, oh could yeah, a two reservation for two around 9 o'clock or whatever." And the guy's like, "Oh no, we can't. It totally booked." Oh, great. Oh, you do have a slot for two. No, no, didn't you hear me? Oh, yeah. And he's just saying it for her. Like, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we're definitely going to Dorsey. It's like you can see, like, oh no, he's his secretary. Like, is he that screwed up? That's way too close to home.
Yeah, and she even like gives like this kind of look like, wait a minute, you didn't even tell him your name, and he's like, oh, they know me, but he has her make reservations for him all the time,
Hmm.
so she would know that she always has to put his name in for him.
Yeah, but she's kind of surprised too because you could see how she has a crush on him.
Yep,
So
yep,
she's like, and that's part of that thing too, because that's what happens in a lot of times where women are blind to certain things because whatever infatuation or if they're enamored with someone, they kind of look the other way. But not just because,
yep,
all of us do something along those lines, depending on
yep.
what it is. Because she's like, oh yeah, Patrick. You can see that she has the hots for him. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like it's like if you like someone, like even just your friends,
Hmm.
if you like the person, you're kind of like, even though your bullshit detector kind of goes off, you kind of push it aside and you're like,
Hmm.
no, I'm gonna believe this.
Yeah,
Like you
it's like
you
I give him the
choose.
benefit of the doubt type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, I think I'm just gonna look the other way on this kind of
Mhm.
oddity.
Yeah, but he still insults her. It's
Yeah.
changed. But you're definitely going to change before we go out.
Yeah, at first he starts like, "Oh, you look good," but and then ends with, "You're gonna want to change."
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So
He's such a scumbag.
yeah, very much. Yeah, he's just vacuous. I mean, that's like,
Hmm.
it's a very consistent character. At least it's not, it's so well done. He's so Christian Bale does such a good job with this actor that the consistency is there throughout the whole movie, and
Yeah.
you're not like wondering, oh wait, maybe he is good, oh no, he's definitely bad, and you're not seesawing with him, like, he's a psycho the entire time, and it's a consistent act the whole time.
Hmm.
That's really good acting
It is.
and good
What he
writing.
did. Yes, on all ends. I think it was the director and the co-writer. I think her name Guinevere or something. Do you remember his friend later in Paul Allen's place, the brunette?
Yes, no, it's
Um,
redhead.
a redheaded or yeah, because she was calling him by his actual name, and he was referring or he mentioned something else and said, what, like, why are you going by that name? Like, she throws it out there too, but she's already getting high and stuff. She was trying to call her drug dealer. That
Yeah.
woman, I believe, is the co-writer.
Oh really?
I believe so. I think that she was the co-writer on the script because like, yeah, she had her scene in there, which they cut out. It was a longer scene, that whole moment.
I like how they start laughing at him about him having Whitney Houston albums.
Yeah, how deep and meaningful her words were, and like it's. Oh yeah, that was excellent.
Yeah.
That was some funny
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
Uh,
surprising the taste in music that
but
he
yeah,
has.
we can't skip over the Gene moment. So like when they're actually in his apartment.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of did yeah. So Jean comes over, and she really is a sweet woman.
Uh-huh.
And she's sitting there, and he offers her some sorbet, and we see him go into the fridge, And there is the blonde's
Model.
head in the
Yeah.
fridge. And that's
That,
the blonde that he took home from the club.
yeah. And it's like, oh
The
no, she really didn't make it.
yeah. Yep. That was that's where he got the blonde lock of hair that he was twirling.
Yeah, which again, extra disturbing. You have your whole Ted Bundy type stuff going on. Like, and it's funny too because he mentions these when he's hanging out with his buddies. Like he mentions some of these stuff, these quotes from them, Ed Gaines. You
Hmm.
know that whole thing of they were talking about women. He's like, yeah, did you ever hear that quote from Ed Gaines? Is like, who's that? Well,
Yeah.
basically, yeah, he's a serial killer guy. But yeah, he said, yeah, they're two different things. When he sees a pretty girl, it's one wants to take her out on a date and treat her well. What's the other one? What her head would look like on a stick. And they're
Yeah.
just like, what the hell? But again, they're so scummy. They just dismissed what he said.
Yeah. Well, one of I think it was the one he thinks is cool, something Bryce. He
Yeah,
kind
with
of
the
has this
sweatpants.
look.
Yeah.
He kind of does this look like, okay, buddy. Like
Yeah. The one he was
he's a
doing
little
coke with in the bathroom. That's it.
yes. Yes. Who Patrick says is the coolest person he knows.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Holy
Yeah,
hell.
it's just it's just unbelievable. And that's another thing, like he asked, and then that reminds me, he asked Jean, oh, do you know, he asked her something about Ted Bundy, and she's like, who's Ted Bundy? Like nobody
Mhm.
knows who these serial killers are. It's the 80s. It isn't like it didn't just happen. Like it didn't
Yeah.
it was like this. Ted Bundy was what 70s, right?
Uh, what was that for you? The time he did that. I'll look up real quick. But well, it is interesting too because you know that like some younger people they aren't paying attention to the type of stuff.
Yeah.
80. It was 89 when he was killed, so he was doing that through late 70s into the early 80s. It looks like.
Okay, so was he not cut? Wait, no.
No,
So
no,
we
no.
have
Wait, hold on. No, no. It was 74 to 78. That's the span of his
okay,
crimes.
okay, and when this actually takes place, even though it comes out in 2000, this is actually a movie that is set in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah. So,
So Ted Bundy had just happened, like that was national news, big time.
hmm
So there's no way she couldn't have known who Ted Bundy was.
well, I wouldn't say that either. I mean, because I don't know. There's stuff that's happened that I've talked to my cousins. It's like you haven't heard of this. Like what? And it's stuff that they should have known or they should have heard about, and they had no idea who these people are or whatever. And it's like that was pretty damn famous. How did you not know that? So
Wow.
I wouldn't dismiss that fully, but it's yeah. I mean, again, the younger ones, like you said, she's innocent too, and she talked about part of her upbringing while they're sitting there having their conversation because he's kind of going around his apartment trying to figure out how he's going to take her out and how he's going to dispose of her, and you
Hmm.
see him like he's looking at his knives as he's having BS, small talk with her,
Hmm.
and she's kind of like laying out, her life or whatever, and there's even a part where he's got the duct tape in his hand, like, what's that? Oh, it's just duct tape. What are you using that for? Yeah, I'm gonna tape something. Like, don't worry about it. And then he finally decides, like, he goes to his tool shed thing that he's got there, and he takes out the nail gun.
Yep.
Yeah, like that moment when I first saw that in the theater, I'm like, holy crap. And
Yeah.
then basically his fiance kind of saves the day with her phone call,
Hmm.
which
Yep. He his whole demeanor like changes. He gets like this dark, like this kind of like despair washes over him, and he's like, I think you should go, and then when she's like, well, are you sure? And I'm sitting there thinking, just go, just go.
yeah,
And then she finally goes, and I'm like, oh, thank God. I really did not want her to get killed.
yeah,
Um,
someone that innocent that actually kind of cared for him. Like you could see that stuff because the other
yeah.
people that he ends up killing, like either he doesn't know them whatsoever or they are kind of shitty people to begin with. you know, like
Yeah.
that type of lifestyle that they live and what they're doing.
Yeah.
So you kind of see like, okay, yeah, like they could easily get into the situation, but someone like her, she was just doing her job, and you know, and the boss basically asked her out. Um,
Yeah.
that's you know that's kind of a different thing, which I respect, and I like the approach that they did. You know, the writing aspect with all of that.
Hmm.
Um, you know, it kind of it fit, everything kind of fit. But again, that too, you almost saw it wasn't so much remorse, but it was like, yeah, this would be bad. Like you could
Yeah.
kind of see it, like that change, because again, the fiance's talking or over the phone like, oh, I hope you're not one of those floozies. Like she's even aware that this guy sleeps around,
Yeah.
you know, and she's like, oh, like okay, wait, that was your fiance. You're doing other things, and you better go because you're I'll hurt you. Like, and she thought emotionally, no, he'll physically hurt you. Like, again, it's genius how they do some of the dialogue and some of the layers that are there, and like the characters unaware of what exactly is happening.
Tree Rock Creations asks a great question. He says, "In American Psycho, does anyone listen to anyone?" And off the top of my head, I'm thinking that Gene,
Mm-hmm.
uh, his assistant, actually does listen to him and talks to him like
Yep.
a real human being. Like she's real. Like
Yep.
I don't mean like as far as are they voices in his head and stuff. Like she's a real, like she's a genuinely good person.
Right.
And
I'd say that's kind of the dead giveaway too with the whole story. What Tree
yeah,
Rock said, they're not
yeah,
really listening to one another. They're not really paying attention.
yeah,
Even the cop is kind of enamored of being in that office when he's interviewing them, and you know these rich guys, and they're kind of like fascinated about with the and like with that restaurant, like you could see like he wants to be a
yeah.
part of that stuff too a bit, and he's not.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely, you can see that there's some envy there as well.
Mm-hmm. There's
Like even
envy,
though
but
like he's trying to do his job and be a good detective and stuff, he's still
yeah.
like definitely envious of what they've got.
I wouldn't say envious. I'd say more of like almost kind of fanboying over them. Like I got that vibe from the cop that it's
Okay.
like that's
All right,
impressive. Like
that's
wow, that is it.
yeah.
Wow, you know, like oh, that'd be great. You know, it's you know, you mentioned like the restaurant and shit too, but yeah, no, there are those moments for sure. That's
Yeah.
why I love how they did it because they give you something a little extra. And it's like when I first saw him, I'm like, is he BSing him? Does he really know? Like you can kind of see there's something there.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then later, kind of what happens too, where he wants to have another meeting with him regarding Paul Allen, and that they found you know some extra information, and like and he's trying to see what that information was. Yeah, oh, yeah, I think it was that second time he came to the office.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. He said he had some information.
But he misplaced it because it was like the
And
whereabouts. It was the whereabouts of
yeah.
Paul Allen and him, and that's what he was nervous about. Like, what do you mean? Like, he goes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he goes, wait, that's not. Because he said, oh yeah, he made up a lie. I don't remember what the lie was, and then
Yeah.
the cop corrects me. No, actually, that's not what I have here. No. The notes I have, and he couldn't find his notes. But as he's looking through it, he pulls out the Huey Lewis and the News CD,
Yeah.
and that's what got him scared. Because it's like, wait a minute, did he really pick that up, or did he find that at Paul's place? Like you could see the gears going.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely.
Mhm.
And then the second time, or no, maybe it wasn't the second time, but when I think it was the last time that him and the detective were talking, they were at that restaurant and he's just mindlessly putting salt on his food, like he's not even looking
Yeah,
at how much salt he's putting on, and he's sweating.
yeah.
And and the detective basically the detective comes to the conclusion that, oh yeah, no, it turns out that he's, you know, he was at this dinner
Resort.
function or whatever,
I think it was a
and
resort or something.
yeah, and like, and Patrick wasn't with him or something like that. It basically cleared Patrick.
Oh yeah. So he because he's sitting there waiting to hear uh what they had said or where he was, because they go, oh yeah, actually, yeah, we had information that that Paul, he was at this resort, or someone said that he was, and the other guy
Hmm.
goes, yeah, and he named like 3 or 4 people in a row, and he's just sweating and sweating because he's waiting to hear him
Yeah.
say, but you weren't there, but he was. The guy goes, and you, and he like he froze. He goes, yeah, they said, yeah, and you were there as well. That's Ah, yes, of course. And then he put on his fake story. Yeah, yeah, that's right. How could I have forgotten that? Yeah, see, it happens. It happens to all of us. Like
Yeah.
he kind of downplayed because it doesn't make any sense. Why would one of his best friends kill him? Like it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you're right. And like
Yeah.
he cleared him without having any factual evidence,
Yep.
just because he believed the other guy. Why? Because he's kind of fanboying over these people. Then it's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So and so said that. He said you were there, and you know
Yep.
they got their story straight.
Yeah. This is what, yes, and this kind of this also plays into some of my theory as well.
Mhm. Okay.
um yeah, God, I can't wait to get into the theories, but yeah, and then okay, so then we see um oh yeah. Okay, yeah, so we already talked about that. He finds that same hooker and offers he gives her a check for like the physical damage he does to her, and then they go back and that redhead is there. We talked about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because she's so yeah, yeah. She didn't want to get back into the car, and like when I saw, I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
she is still alive, and she should stay away from him. So she goes, yeah, you were so dangerous, and she goes, you hurt me. I'm gonna have to have a surgery. The doctor says, yeah, I'm gonna have to. And he's like, oh, we don't have to get the cops or no one involved here. I'll write a big check, and you
Yeah.
could get whatever fixed that you need to get fixed or whatever. Because it sounds like she had internal bleeding from whatever he did or whatnot. And then he lures her back in. He's
Mhm.
he's got he's got he's got that knot of cash that he's hanging out the window, and pulls
Mhm.
her back in. He's like, half now, half later, and like she's
Yep.
kind of on guard the whole night.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a hooker he brought; it was someone he actually knew. Or like I said, I know her scene got
Yep.
cut down a bit. Um,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we find out that they know each other
mhm,
because she like says stuff like oh we know each other from this and that, and
yeah,
yeah, they were old acquaintances, and she's like, how do you guys know each other?
mhm.
And that's when he's like, oh, she's
My
that's
cousin.
my cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah. um
But she's not buying it because she's laughing in his face, like, yeah, whatever. And then
yeah.
she's just trying to get in touch with her drug dealer or whatever. But
Yeah.
he had laced their drinks.
Yes. Yep, we see him lacing their drinks with
Mhm,
some kind of white powder, but
mhm.
it's definitely some kind of it's not it's not like cocaine, it's some kind of other medicine because they end up getting like weird it was weirdly messed
It,
up.
yeah, it could be like ecstasy and quaaludes or something. I don't know. It's
Oh, yeah.
something big from the '80s, because they were always doing shit like that. But it was some
Yep.
kind of pill because he cracked it open and he was like kind of pouring it on them.
Yep.
And he told that, yeah, to the street walker there. Yeah, how come you're not drinking? Drink up, like. But he was downplaying everything, and it didn't look like things were going to get too horrible until they kind of woke up in I guess in the middle of the night, and he looks like he was still kind of fooling around with that one chick, and
Yep.
yeah, then things were getting out of hand. So she went from giggling to kind of like groaning sounds as the streetwalker's like, I better get out of here while he's kind of busy with her. And as she's grabbing her shoes or whatever, and she looks and she starts to see blood seeping through the sheets.
Mhm.
And his arms just going up and down, and then he pops his head out, and his face is covered in blood. Like he was biting her and stabbing her at the same time.
Yep.
And that's when she starts freaking out, and she goes to run out of the apartment. And as she went to the wrong door, and you see the closet with bodies hanging in it. She
Mhm.
ran to the bathroom. There's a decapitated body on the floor. She falls down, and he goes to bite her leg. She kicks
Yep.
him in the face. he flips out even more. Not the fucking face, you bitch.
Yeah.
And then she found the right door to get out of there. She's banging on every door on that floor, and no one's answering. And then she makes it to the stairwell, and she's going down, and he's chasing her with the damn chainsaw, which was again, he's throughout the movie he's watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the background while he's doing his workout. He's got porn on in the background, so it's like he's the star of his own movie in his own head from what he's actually doing this stuff. Which is, it's extra screwed up too, because it's like he's got all this money, he's bored out of his mind, he's soulless, and he just he wants to recreate this stuff for himself, to see if he could fill that void, and it's just he gets more and more deranged from this. But yeah, she's kind of trying to get out of there, and he's at the top of the stairs, and he's just kind of times it right.
Yeah. I know, that was so disappointing. I was like, no.
Yeah, that was so sad for her. It's like, oh my God, she's gonna get out. Nope. It's like as you see it falling in slow-mo, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
How is this gonna land in her? And wow.
It
was almost like the scene from the beginning of Dark Knight when he's kind of times it right with landing on top of the van that the Scarecrow's in.
That's right.
They did a lot of stuff that was kind of it mirrored what happened.
They took inspiration. But Tree Rock Creation says, asks you, actually tells you, American Psycho reminds me of another movie, The Player. I'm not familiar with that movie.
Neither am I. The Player.
We'll have to check. We'll have to look that up. So yeah, that unfortunate scene happens, and oh my God, I can't even imagine the mess of that place after when we see it from her point of view, all the bodies and stuff like that, and the writing on the wall and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, how much of a mess it was. It really shows you how many times he's done this in that apartment. Yeah,
which that was one of the theories that I don't think I ever heard the factual stuff on that, but my theory on that whole thing was that he did empty out at least the first couple of the floors from Paul Allen's kind of downward, possibly the building, because there was a ton of bodies in that apartment.
Yeah, a lot. And that place was a mess.
Yeah, that was something else.
Yeah,
big time. We're getting close to the theories anyway, but
yeah.
So he's losing it. So you see him from the next scene, because they did a great segue from that part with the chainsaw and the girl's body to he's in a restaurant and he's drawing it. He's drawing it on his on the table on the one of the sheets that they kind of I can't think of the wword for it.
Tablecloth.
It wasn't a tablecloth. It was the one that you would throw out anyway. It was because the tablecloth is underneath. It was like another one, like a placemat type thing. I know because I've drawn on them at convention after parties myself. But,
yeah, they're made of paper, basically.
Yeah, it's some cheap shit. But he's basically with a crayon, and he's sitting there just drawing this woman's torso with the chainsaw and the blood all over the place as his fiance is just rambling on about stuff, and he's just at that moment, we're done. What? We're breaking it off.
Yeah, that was wild, because I'm thinking she's just talking and talking and talking, and he's sitting there drawing a body with a chainsaw in it, and I'm like, does she not? Is she so much just absorbed with herself that she doesn't even see what he's drawing? It was just, it was just mine. It was I really didn't blame him for dumping her because she is so self-absorbed, but he's no prize either.
Oh, I'm like, yes, he no prize. Holy, yeah, the guy's a monster.
paper cloth.
It's something like that.
um yeah, so and then he's like, it's over, and she starts making a scene, and she's like, what can I do, what can you do? He's like, right now you can just stop making a scene. And then he's like, I gotta go
Yeah.
return some videotapes.
He's like, is there anything I can do to fix this? Stop making a scene right now.
Yeah, that's
What?
true.
Like, yeah, because
This-
he's in a rush. He's in a rush to leave. Where are you going? I have to return some videotapes.
yeah, like, what?
He does it throughout the book too, because it's part of the thing of it's just superficial things mean more to him than anything else. So it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's important. I gotta return these.
Yeah, like, well, these are due, I have to go return them.
Yeah, obviously.
So yeah, so after that, then we see, um oh, and he's later on, he's at the ATM scene. He's at the ATM, and we see the screen says, "Feed me the stray cat." And
Yeah,
this,
because at that point, from when he broke it off with her,
mhm,
he's now he's slipping hardcore because
yes,
yeah, he's it's getting things are getting a little too close to home, and he can't control the urges at all.
yep. As yeah, and that's another thing. This movie is very linear. As time goes on, little by little, you really see his mental state decline.
Hmm.
And it's kind of, it starts to get a little faster as the movie goes on, and
Yep.
like towards the end, it goes,
Hmm.
he spirals down a little faster and a little faster.
Hmm.
um and yeah, and then that's when we see, like, he starts really, we see him hallucinating, um that the ATM is telling him, feed me a stray cat. Like, how are you going to do that? Like, and then
Hmm.
the woman, he must have been like really manhandling the cat or maybe choking it or something, because the woman's like, oh my god, what are you doing? And then he just
Hmm.
takes out a gun and shoots her.
Yep. Which
And
I'm glad
yeah,
I'm glad he didn't kill the cat because he does put it down. You see him
yeah,
put it
I
down.
I know. Oh my god, like, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm
Yeah.
like, please, at least let the cat go.
Right. It's like you took out a dog earlier. Don't not the cat too.
Like, it's okay, you can kill the woman, but not the cat.
Right. Because she's a rich uppity bitch anyway. Oh jeez. But yeah, he pulls out that gun, just shoots her dead. And yeah, and then you can see like the cops through the other side of that building, and
Mhm.
he takes off. So yeah, from that part, he's like, okay, this is like he's it seems like it could be part of his mental break, but
Mhm.
this stuff is happening. Like you when the cops it looked like they did stop him, he starts having a shootout with them, and that's what I thought was hilarious because it's like it's something out of a movie where the cop car exploded.
Yeah.
Like he does kill one of them, and then but it was something like it was behind the cop car that he hit, and that's where the explosion triggered the cop car. And
Yeah.
so those guys are now dead. It's like the sheer dumb luck. And then he
Yeah,
goes to the building.
and you even see the look on his face, like when it blows up, even he looks like, wow, did I do that?
Yeah, he looks at his gun like, what the?
Yeah.
That was priceless. But then yeah, he walks into a building, and the guy calls him by again another wrong name. Oh, Mr. Johnson, burning the midnight oil, and he just shoots the guard straight dead. And
Yeah.
so he goes in from one entrance, he shoots that guy. It looks like he was going to go towards the elevators. He goes past the elevators into the other rotating door to get out on the other side of the building, and he sees that the janitor guy is coming out of the elevator, and kind of like you can see that he's looking over at the body, and I love that shot, that angle where he's kind of spinning through, and he just comes out the other side, back into the lobby, and shoots that guy, and goes back out the rotating. Like he just did it in one motion. Like it's still spinning. He went all the way around, shoots the guy, and still he's in it and goes out the door.
I know. And
Like
like, why'd he kill the maintenance guy? Like the janitor or whatever. Like, he didn't
the
deserve
witnesses.
that.
What? So here's the thing, because this is what I thought was kind of genius too. it looks like he's just going on a rampage now. But at the same time, he walked into the wrong building because that's how much all of this stuff is the same. This corporate America, every bit of it, it's all the same. The lobby looked exactly the same as the lobby of his freaking firm. Because when you see him go into a lobby that looks almost exactly like it, minus something that's different behind the guard. The wall on the guard is different behind him, and it's like, oh, hey, Mr. Bateman. He puts his hand into his coat like he's going to take out the gun and shoot him too, but instead he takes out a pen and he signs in. Then he goes into the elevator and he's sweating bullets all over the place. It's like, whoa. He gets into his office and they're like helicopters all around outside. And he makes that frantic call to his lawyer. And he leaves that voice message that was like epic.
Yeah.
It's like I had to kill a lot of people. He went into everything. The prostitutes that he killed. And I killed Paul Allen. I buried an axe into his face. Like, he went into everything. And then, like, how broken that the man is. He even goes, like, he knows how disgusting it was. I even ate some of their brains. Like, that whole speech that he gives, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This guy is completely, he's gone. Absolutely gone. And the thing is, that freaked out the most is like, and he goes, and I know I'm gonna get caught. Like, it's inevitable now. And that's the big twist, that it isn't. It's not inevitable. It didn't happen.
Yeah, that phone call is so wild. And like it really struck me how there are a bunch of murders that he can't remember. He's like, I don't know, I can't remember them all, but the one he remembers clear as day. The one, Paul Allen.
Yep.
And that's the one he didn't do.
That's what your theory is?
That's my theory.
Interesting.
That's what I think, yeah.
So should we finish it for the people before we get into that?
Yes.
Because like, we're right there. So it's like, yeah, so the next day he's a mess. And he calls in the office and he's like, he's breaking down on the phone and she can kind of hear it. Like, what's wrong, Patrick? And I'm not going to be in the office today. Like, he's literally like, he knows he's going to be arrested that day. He knows shit's going down, and it's kind of a miracle he hasn't been arrested yet throughout the night. And she tells him about that get together or whatever, and that his lawyer's there. So he goes to this get together, and he runs into a couple other people, and they see that he's all sweaty and kind of crazy, and like, yeah, what's wrong, man? And he's still kind of BSing them until he sees the lawyer, and then he runs over to him, and he tells him, he goes, "It was me, man." It's like. And the guy goes, "Oh my God, that was hilarious!" And he calls him by again, the other guy's name. I was Davis or something, and he's like,
"Yeah, a brand new name."
Well, yes, yeah. So, but see, this is the brilliant part. This is what confuses a lot of people too. So, in the end, like that, he's saying it. He's like, "Oh, that's a great. It was hilarious." Like, but your fatal flaw is that you said it was Patrick Bateman. Everybody knows he's too much of a wussy, and he couldn't do that. And he's like, whoa. And he kept stopping. Like, he kept trying to walk away from him. And he grabbed me. He's, whoa, wait a minute. I'm telling you what I did. You're not listening to what I'm saying. And he goes, I'm Patrick Bateman. And he's like, this isn't even funny anymore. He's like, what are you talking about? He goes, I had dinner with Paul Allen like 3 nights ago. And he went blank. He went blank completely in his face. And he's, how is that even possible? Like, that's the thing that was brilliant, because they are all like that. All of them. They don't recognize each other. They're all the same person. That was the point of it. He is Patrick Bateman. He did do these kills. No one is putting any of it together because all these people are so self-absorbed. He is actually a psychopathic killer. He went from a psychopath to having a psychotic break in the movie. That's what happens. He has this arc that is a full psychosis. He is off his rocker in every possible way. And that final scene, he's sitting down. It's, I'm not going to get caught. It's that whole thing. Because when he goes back to Paul Allen's place, and there's paint all over the place. They're fixing up that whole apartment. And the lady was just seeing, people that were in there. He went in with a mask because he thought he had to go clean out some of these bodies and stuff. And it's the whole thing is it's gleaming white in there. They just fixed up everything, paint's all over the walls, the bodies are all gone. And he's staring into the closet where there should have been a couple of bodies in there. And that's when the realtor goes, "Oh, are you my 2:00?" And he's like, "No." And then she freezes, and she's like, it's almost like you could see that she knows he was responsible for a lot. Like the whole thing is like a massive cover up in that building because it's so expensive. It's right there overlooking Central Park. They're not going to lose that property value. Whatever happened in there, they took care of it. They cleaned it up because they need to sell these apartments for millions of dollars. It's all about the greed. It's all about the money. And that's why he's like, "I think you better leave now." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to leave. Never come back here." "Oh, I won't. And then he just kind of like, he vanishes out the door like that. Well, I guess that scene was before the thing with the lawyer, but it's that whole, everything was just covered up. Because if you break down what he had done during the night as well, could have been a random shooting for that one woman. The cops were blocks away when they caught up to him. There are no eyewitnesses. He goes into the one building mistakenly. There's no eyewitnesses. He had taken them out, and then he went to his building and slept it off in his office. He just, it all happened.
Well, I don't agree with that. I think that it's left vague. I think it's left up to interpretation on purpose. I think that you can take it either way. You can take it as it all did happen as we see it in the movie, or you can take it as like a more kind of open-ended approach where and that's where I'm leaning into is I do believe that his name is I think he is Patrick Bateman, but I think that he's also other people as well. I think that he has multiple personality disorder. And
That's interesting.
Because the friends that he's with, he's always with the same friends. But whenever and the weird thing is whenever they make a reservation, it's always for 3, even though there are 4 of them. And that always struck me as weird. And then that
I gotta look back at that. I think that's something I did miss.
Yeah. And then it doesn't make sense that he was able to get into both office buildings. Like he shot one of the guards. So and that guard called him Mr. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
all right. Do you have a couple of theories? Do you have a couple of theories, or is it just kind of like that one? Because then I'll lay down the facts.
It's basically all comes off of that. I don't think that it is as it seems on face value in the movie.
Yeah, I will say one thing though. I think some of the things that did happen because of his psychoses, that he did see it bigger than it was as well. Like the explosion with the cops, because you could clearly see when he has his break when he's trying to feed the cat into the machine, because he's seeing it's popped up on the screen, feed me the cat or whatever. Like I think part of that was embellished in his own mind, but I do believe that he had killed these people, because the lawyer even says it in the end too, when he mentioned the stuff about the hookers and all that crap, and he goes, "You're telling me you're the one who because he made mention that they were the missing prostitutes or murdered prostitutes. He made mention of it, so you could assume that it was in the news recently. You know what I mean? Those elements were in there. They were in the dialogue when they're having their conversation. When he's trying to convince them of what had happened, but the writer of the books, he did say it. That's his, I don't know why it's fact. He says that all this stuff did happen. He is Patrick Bateman. He is a psychopath. He is a murderer. Is was the whole thing. The whole book is basically that. It is this, the narcissistic world, the material possessions, the lifestyle of these creeps, and how they are destroying so much. How they are these psychopathic killers. They are. It's he picked one character to kind of tell the story and kind of have um his take on the corporate world and what they've been doing. So that's what I thought was really interesting with all of that. Because, like I said, the first time I saw the movie, I had certain theories as well. The second time I saw it, I saw more like, no, he did do these things, and these people are just, they are so self-absorbed. All of them are. You go throughout the movie, every one of them is broken in that way, except for the secretary.
Mm-hmm.
Because when she finds his book and she's flipping through it, like the shock and awe on her face of it's progressively worse with every page turn that she had of all the sick shit that this guy was doing. So yeah, it's something else.
Yeah. So the writer of the book said that it's all face value.
Yeah.
Wow.
He had this character like that for a reason, because he wanted to show that. And yeah, it's and that they keep getting away with it.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
I would not. So yeah, that is surprising, because I was totally sold on my theory that that a lot of this was just in his head.
Mm-hmm. I think being the star of all these things, that part of that was like, it was more of an over the top kind of stuff, between like making his own porno, because he was fixated on that, the being a serial killer, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, being in love with those serial killers, like, and he's kind of like, he's modeling himself after them. Because he said even that thing too, like with the Tom Cruise situation, like in the book, it's because he looks up to him on top of it. And if it was something that they could have done, like that character, like he would probably model himself after this famous movie star. It's really interesting how the approach of all of it. But yeah, I thought it was really good.
Frankie says, I've worked with stockbrokers for a short time in the 90s. They are like that, all flash and empty inside.
Yep.
Wow. I really, really thought that there was some theories, like there was more to it than he was just a serial killer. I really thought that some of it was in his head. I really did.
The embellishments, some of it is like some of the situations that he saw them in a more over the top situation. But yeah, he's a killer. He's a broken individual, because it's that thing too. It's being the son of like a multi-billionaire or whatever in the story. But how many times have you heard these things too? These rich people, their kids, they have no value of anything, of regular human life. It's all about their material possessions. Mm-hmm. That's all they give a shit about. And to him it was that, and then the fixation with himself, his narcissism, his making his body the extreme of what it should be. Even when he has that line with his secretary, like, why don't you have some ice cream too? No, it's gonna make me fat. What? You look great. I could always be thinner. You could always look better. That whole, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very, very narcissistic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and just an empty shell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, a total empty shell.
Man, I was really hoping that there was more to it than that. Like the reason why they kept mistaking him for someone else was because he was somebody else. Like I was really hoping that.
Like I said, when you see it more times, you'll see more of what's there.
Well, I did see it on face value the first time, and then the more I watched it, I was thinking like, no, no, there's something else going on. I really think that he is somebody else. So
It disappoints you knowing that.
yeah,
uh,
yeah, it kind of does. It kind of does. I was hoping for a little more of a psych out.
a little more of a psycho. He murdered all those people, and he got away with it.
I know, and he's not happy about that either.
He's not. He's not, because he got to a point where he broke, and it's like, yeah, that's why he started just doing everything he was doing. That Paul Allen thing was, to me, like one of the bigger moments of it, because it's like that's someone that's so close to his circle, and then like he almost did with that guy Lewis, and then his
Mhm.
secretary. Like the two of them, they got out of it unscathed and didn't even realize it.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I think
yeah,
had he taken out either one of them, he could have been caught quite easily.
yeah. It's yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they were to do a part 2 and it starred him and, it was a good sequel, if he were to kill anybody else, like, in his department or anyone close to him, they would definitely catch on to him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, 2 people go
Mhm.
mysteriously missing and
Well,
they
yeah,
both
that's it. You don't.
yeah.
What is it? You don't shit where you eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, it's something else. But I thought it was done in such a great way. Like some of the stuff, like that whole thing with his with the Paul Allen situation and the woman banging on all the doors, because you could look at that both ways as well. Like it's possible that he killed everyone on that floor for sure, and that's why no one answered. It could also be like, again, New York in the '80s. No one's going to be like, yeah, you need help. Like everyone kind of did their own thing and stayed away from stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of different ways you could look at certain things that happen, but again, a chainsaw being dropped down a flight of stairs like that, someone would have heard or seen something. So that's why I'm under um, the thought or the theory that he took out everyone in that building. And again, later on, it would make sense too of why they wanted to cover that all up.
Yeah, because my first time watching, I'm thinking, okay, so when he called his lawyer must have had a cleanup crew come and completely like fix the situation. And that's why when he goes back, all the walls are bright white and everything is clean.
Yeah,
And they're
no, I think it was the people of the ones of the building itself, the owners of the building and all that, the realtors, and because that's like it's like the scummy thing of the ultra elite in New York. It's like they'll cover up anything, you
this is
know.
what I'm saying, Tree Rock Creations. Like he couldn't recognize his own client.
He
It doesn't
says
make
it. He says he goes, "Don't you recognize me?"
yeah.
But the thing
Yeah.
is, but hold on. As he's walking away, the lawyer says someone else's name he went to go talk to, and it was also the wrong guy. So it again, they're all the same. The lawyer got mistaken with Paul Allen. He didn't have dinner with Paul Allen. He thought that he did because every one of these yuppie guys looked the same.
Yeah.
So that's what was kind of brilliant on that end of what they were doing.
See,
Mhm.
I'm annoyed by that because I don't want it to be so simple that they just don't recognize each other. I just don't I don't know. I don't know.
That's the one thing that
I
bothers you.
yeah, it does. It bothers me like a lawyer not
Well,
recognizes his own client and he and
isn't it? Isn't
like
it
do
the
they all have the same voice? Like he changes the message on Paul Allen's answer machine and nobody's like that's not Paul Allen's voice. Like no, come on. They're not clones.
But see, for me as well, like I thought that he should have done. There should have been either a better impersonation of Jared Leto's character, or his voice rather. Because when I first saw the movie, I said that's this is what's going to get him caught is the answering machine. Like
Yeah.
that's while I'm first watching it, like that was my initial thought. But again, like he kind of yeah, he yeah, it's me. Oh yeah, hasta la vista, baby. Like he kind
Yeah.
of hammed it up, and like yeah, I could kind of see those characters will being similar in that on that end as well, using these catchphrases and shit.
Soul Assassin says, "What if it is intentionally left open-ended?" Well, that's what I thought until Vinny said that the writer said, "No, it's what you see is what you get."
Yeah, the writer said that this guy is a psychopath. He did do these things, and
Yeah.
I don't know how extreme it gets in the book either, or how close the cop got to figuring it out. Because I know they said with the movie script there were three versions of the script where one detective knew 100%, two he kind of thought that he did but had no proof, and then the third one he was kind of clueless, and they went with the clueless aspect.
So the writer of the book says
Mm-hmm.
that what you see is what you get. There's no like there's
Mm-hmm.
no it's definitely Patrick Bateman. He definitely did all this stuff. Like there's no like theories to be had or anything like that. It's just
Well, that's why there was so much controversy when the book came out initially. They said because it was this they thought it was just a misogynistic, destroying women and these prostitutes. Like they try to paint the book as that's what this is about. That's not what the book was about, and that's why he had to do these interviews and stuff because he didn't want to hand feed everybody, but he was almost forced to say it. He's like, no, this is an actual look into the corporate greed, the narcissism, the psychopaths that are actually destroying America. It's more or less what he was writing about. And again, he's not giving his side either if he's left or right or whatever. It's the way that he approached it was specifically to show that it is this greed and narcissism that is destroying everything, and it's going to continue to destroy things, and that these people are kind of pretty much getting away with it, even though they shouldn't. No one's happy about it. You know?
mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah. I still, like I said, I still love the movie. Even knowing this stuff and watching it again, like you can still see a lot that's going on.
I
And
wish he had left it open to interpretation.
I think he really wanted to. And the problem is that these assholes just kept trying to attack him, which is shitty. But
Soul Assassin says, back then it was about the corporate lifestyle. Now it would be more about a social media personality.
yeah, you could definitely apply it to a lot of social media personalities, YouTubers, and other fake and weird people with their cults.
Check this out. Tree Rock Creation says, I like the movie version better.
Okay. Well, the writer of the book said he did love the movie because they thought that he hated it. He's like, no, I loved it. I love what they did.
So Tree Rock Creations. Oh, wait, Vinny, did you read the book?
I didn't. I know big chunks of it, but I don't know every detail. I haven't gotten it yet. I wanted to, but I never had a chance. Like I kept forgetting.
Okay, so Tree Rock Creations, I have a question for you. How different is the movie from the book?
It's a Rust. I know there's a delay, but I don't know. Frankie thinks that it's a mix of reality and Patrick's psychotic episodes distorting reality. Yeah, I'd say it's definitely like a mix of both for sure. Because he is obsessed with these other things, like these movies and all that stuff, and he wants to be the star of his own kind of world. And I think part of that is because they're all the same. The corporate day-to-day shit. It's the mask that he needs, and then his nighttime, it's him being a lunatic. Oh, he didn't finish it. She-Rock didn't finish the entire book.
Oh, well, that's okay. So what you've read of it so far, how different is it from the movie?
Well, there are some other fun facts too. Like they said Bale was doing that routine you see in the morning with his exercise regimen and the ice pack in the face. They said he did that every day that they were shooting. He
it shows.
Yeah, he said he wanted to stay true with what that character is. He kept his American accent the entire time. That the entirety of the shoot, he didn't stay in character, but he just wanted to make sure that the American accent was there the entire time. And they said when the other cast and crew members, when they saw him when they were actually promoting the movie, they thought he was doing a fake British accent for another role. And he went, no, he goes, no, Mike, this is my real voice, which I thought was pretty funny. Yeah, he's definitely a serious actor. Yeah, no, his acting chops, man. This guy's on another level. People can't touch.
Yeah. Well, this was a great review. This, yeah, I'm glad that you suggested this movie because, yeah, I'm glad I saw it because I wouldn't have seen it otherwise.
Oh, well, then I'm
Oh.
definitely glad that we did bring it up because yeah, it'd be a shame to miss this one.
Tree Rock Creation says the book was just too negative. That's interesting.
Okay. Which would make sense with the guy's narrative that, painting that picture of all that. Which, you know what? And that New York is still very much, it's kind of weird. It's very much like that. There's someone I know, she moved back up there and she started working in one of these agencies. And it's still like that. These guys are still on cocaine all the time. They drink every day of the week. It's really bizarre.
I don't know how people can live like that.
I don't either. And she said it too, because she likes the nightlife, but not to the levels that these people were doing. She's like, every night you guys are doing this? Like, it was very bizarre for her.
All right, Tommy, talk to you later. Thanks for being here.
Later, buddy. Awesome seeing you.
Frankie Nose says, I wonder why they made Patrick misquote Ed. It was an Edmund Kemper quote. Huh.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was the bigger guy with the glasses. That nut job.
Yeah, I know that from the series on Netflix. It was called Mindhunters.
Yeah, that was so good.
I know. Why did they cancel it? It was so good.
Was it canceled or
was it a limited series?
I think it was limited, but it's because the guy who was involved in it was what's his face, the one who remade the girl with the dragon tattoo. What's his face?
I don't know who that is, but
I think he did Fight Club too. He's like a perfectionist.
Soul Assassin says, guys, Tommy went to go return some videotapes.
Yeah. Tell them Blockbuster's closed.
Oh, I know. Isn't that sad?
Let me see if I could find. I think it's David Lynch. No, yeah.
Lynch.
No,
Lynch
Finch.
Is awesome.
Fincher. No, David Fincher.
Oh, okay. That's a different person. Yeah.
I think it was him.
Let's see.
It's either one of the same. Because he did Fight Club, Seven, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I think it's him. Where is the?
I'm looking it up.
Mindhunters. Yeah, it's David Fincher. He did Mindhunters.
Mindhunter. Okay, so there's Mindhunters and then there's Mindhunter, which is a Netflix original series.
Yeah, Mindhunter. That's the one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Creator Joe.
Oh, it was canceled. He did some French magazine interview and he confirmed it. He confirmed the third season will never happen. It sucks.
Yeah, it really does because such a great show.
Yeah, and they were building up. They were building up to the other serial killer guy too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well, I think we hit everything. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about with this movie?
I think we hit everything. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Kind of like there's like those little factoids here and there, but no, I think that was it. We were pretty thorough.
Yeah, basically I broke it down, or I tried to, scene by scene, and yeah, I think we hit everything, and we even got all the kills that, well, the ones that they showed and ones that we know of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we went over everything, and I'd say anybody who hasn't seen it yet, definitely give it a shot. I was very entertained by it, and I originally didn't have any plans on seeing it. So yeah, I'd recommend it.
Yeah. The performances are fantastic. Again, just kind of what he does with that character. So, and it's interesting too, since we did the voices and we did this one, it's two different kind of takes from the serial killer's eyes, which is,
yeah,
it's good stuff.
I was, yeah, exactly. I was actually thinking of that tonight as I was today as I was setting up the stream. I was like, hey, there's kind of a theme going on here. Serial killers, like in real life, not like the character is like Victor Crowley or something like that.
Right. We should eventually do it with Hannibal Lecter and the whole Silence of the Lambs and those movies.
Yeah, like we could watch the all the movies related to Hannibal Lecter, because there's Silence of the Lambs, and then there's
Hannibal.
Red Dragon, Hannibal.
Yeah, Red Dragon. Yeah, that's pretty much the prequel.
Yep.
To all of it. So.
Yeah, and then the series oh man, the series is so great.
I love that series. Mads Mikkelsen is so damn fantastic, and so is that character. Was it Will? I think it's Will. Like his
oh man,
profiler.
He's from the FBI.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah, he's
I think he's the profiler. He's like the serial killer profiler.
Yes, profiler. That's it.
Yeah, Will Graham. That's it. Yeah, which I think isn't that the character from Red Dragon? The one who's profiling him from that.
I can't remember at all. I definitely have to see that again.
I loved it. I love what everyone was like on the fence. They didn't think this movie would happen and all that stuff. But yeah, it is the profiler from Red Dragon, the one Ed Norton plays.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's why I love what they did with the TV series, because they did make it their own, but it was still just the writing was so tight in that.
Yep. Yes, very.
Yeah, excellent stuff.
Soul Assassin, serial killers, note to self, watch out for Trina.
She could borrow one of my raincoats. Never.
Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is. Oh man, that was so good.
Yes, it is, Paul.
Yeah, great movie. This was a good recommendation from you, Vinny. Good job.
Excellent.
So yeah, I guess that's it. And let's I want to thank everybody, for all you guys in the chat, for coming, and anybody who catches this on the replay, thank you as well. And yeah, if you want, Vinny, tell them where to find you and what you got going on.
Yeah, you could find me on Vinny Art on YouTube, Twitter, all that great stuff. I got some fantastic projects out there. If you haven't seen them yet or gotten them, or even if you did, if grab them, go to a comic shop, tell them about it. See if they want to have some independent creators in there. You go to vinnyart.com to get to the campaigns, or you can go at Vinny Art on Twitter. I have them pinned on the top of my Twitter page. You can't, for some reason, you can't find me right now because I've been shadow banned by the bots or something on Indiegogo, but I think it's going to be corrected soon. But in the meantime, yeah, you could find me. You can find me through those other means. But yeah, we have Shadow of the Kraken, Through the Woods, City of Venus. All those books are available. City of Venus has 2 art books attached to that campaign. So when you go to checkout, you could either add the first one on there, or if you want all 3 in one shot. Like I try to give people some different choices, but they ship immediately. All my books ship immediately. So jump on all that. Oh, thank you. It sounds like someone saw my toy review. Yeah, excellent review. But yeah, no, I did post up some more kind of toy shorts. I gotta do a full toy review soon. I did pick up the Mario Brothers from the movie. I thought they looked pretty awesome.
Nice.
So I'll try to get them done soon. I don't think there's gonna be a toy stream tomorrow because I think Tommy he's still healing up, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but if not Friday, I'll definitely be having a stream, and Sunday, and yeah, that's Friday Underground and the Sunday Roundtable. So we'll talk about some stuff because there's been some crazy stuff that happened this week, and yeah, thank you everyone in chat. Thank you Trina, and have a great
Yes.
night.
Yes, thank you all, and thank you, Vinny, for being here. And next week we'll be reviewing Frankenhooker. We're finally going to be doing that next week. So
Finally,
yeah, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, I hope to see you guys next week as well. But otherwise, everybody, hope you have a great night. And again, just thank you all for coming. You guys really, we love you.
absolutely.